Hello everyone. In this video we will discuss weathering and erosion of rocks. First of all, let's see the difference between weathering and erosion. Weathering. When the rocks undergo decay due to various reasons, they are said to have weathered. In other words, the process of mechanical disintegration and chemical decomposition of rock is called weathering. Erosion. Due to weathering, the affected rocks become weak, less cohesive, and fractured. And such overlying loose materials, due to the weathering, this rock become loose, less cohesive, and fractured. Okay. And such overlying loose weathered material is easily dislodged or transported by the natural forces like gravity, blowing wind, running water, or gliding glaciers or dashing waves. This process of removal of weathered material from the place of its formation is called erosion. The weathering phenomena is important from the civil engineering point of view because all kinds of rocks, when affected by weathering, lost their strength substantially and hence become unsuitable for use either for foundation purposes or as construction materials. Apart from this, weathering of rocks is responsible for the formation of soils, laterites, and some economic mineral deposits. Now let's see the weathering process. As already stated, weathering of rocks is due to the process of mechanical disintegration and chemical decomposition. This happens due to different physical, chemical, and biological factors. The mechanical disintegration of rock is accompanied in nature by a variety of natural agencies like wind, river, glacier, dashing waves and tides of the sea, gravity, exfoliation, frost wedging and frost heaving. While the chemical decomposition of rock is a relatively slow process and the factors responsible for the decomposition of rocks are water, atmospheric gases like carbon dioxide, oxygen and nitrogen. The biological factors which contribute in the mechanical disintegration and decomposition of rocks are plant, animal, bacteria and man. Man ranks top in the list of various factors responsible for forced unnatural weathering of the rock. Okay, so one by one we will discuss about each physical, chemical and biological factors in the weathering process. Firstly, let's see the participation of wind in weathering process. Wind is nothing but a moving air. That's why wind is a relatively weak natural force. Wind causes disintegration by means of abrasion and attrition. Abrasion means the collision of particles of different material, and attrition means the collision of particles of same materials. Wind abrasion occurs when the loose particles like sand carried by the wind strike against the exposed rocks. This action will be more pronounced, means the wind abrasion will be more when the blown particles are hard, means the particles carried by the wind are hard and the exposed rocks are soft and the velocity of wind is high. Okay, these are the favorable condition of wind abrasion. And wind attrition occurs in two different ways. First, During abrasion, when sand particles strike the exposed rock with force, they themselves receive an equal impact, which results in their breakdown and consequent decrease in size. Okay, means when they strike to the rock, they itself get impact force. That's why they collide each other and their sizes are reduced. The other way of wind attrition is during transit in the medium of air, the heterogeneous particles do not move uniformly, thereby leading to mutual collision. Okay, means they collide themselves, and during collision, the size of these sand particles get reduced. Okay, so this also lead to the breakdown of particles. A greater velocity of wind and a greater length of transit favor the attrition process. Next is river. A river is a very powerful weathering agent. It disintegrates the rock in different ways such as hydraulic action, abrasion, attrition and solution. Hydraulic action. In this process, the kinetic energy which is associated with the running river water takes part in causing the physical breakdown of rocks. When such river water dashes against the rocks forcefully, it breaks them down mechanically. Abrasion. This is a more effective process of river erosion. River in its course transport a large quantity of sediments of various sizes and types such as cobbles, pebbles, gravels, sand, silt, clay and organic materials. Okay? By virtue of their movement, they possess energy and hence momentum. During transport, these sediments hits the exposed rocks relentlessly, leading to their breakdown. Attrition. Like abrasion, this is also a mechanical weathering process, but here the erosion is with reference to transported sediments themselves. This is the result of the abrasion phenomenon mainly because when the rock fragments hits the exposed rocks, not only these rocks are affected, but also an equal effect is borne by the fragments which are carried by the running water. Thus, the rock fragments during abrasion undergo wear and tear, which is called attrition. Okay, this process is similar. The process of abrasion and attrition is similar as we have discussed in case of wind. Okay. Solution. This process involves only chemical decay of rocks and no mechanical wear and tear. This is an invisible process and very effective under favorable conditions. As we know, among liquids, water is the most powerful solvent. Hence, it dissolves many kinds of materials. When river water passes through different areas over different rocks, its chemical potential increases with time. Further, such water, by virtue of its continued contact, gradually acts on the components of rocks. Depending upon their nature, some minerals are immediately affected, while others are slowly affected. Virtually, there are no minerals which are totally unaffected. Even quartz, the most resistant mineral, is affected by alkaline solutions. Now we look at how glaciers are involved in the weathering process of rock. We know that glaciers are the body of ice. During the downward movement of glaciers, they come across the rock of various sizes on its way and entraps them in its body at the bottom. As the glacier moves further, these entrapped rock bodies deeply scratch the floor and sides of the valley, causing effective abrasion. During abrasion, the rocks under transport are themselves worn out, okay, which causes attrition. Next is dashing waves and tides of the sea. Coastal erosion is the consequence of dashing tides and waves of the sea. The wind, when it blows over shallow parts of the sea, creates waves. The marine erosion is both by means of mechanical disintegration and chemical decomposition. Such wear and tear is done by hydraulic action, abrasion, attrition, and solution. All these processes we have already discussed in case of river erosion. Okay. Next physical factor which involved in the weathering process is gravity. The gravitational acceleration of Earth imparts enormous energy to falling bodies. When such bodies ultimately strike the ground, the rocks there are smashed into pieces. Thus, waterfall, landslides, avalanches, or meteorites gain greater and greater momentum during their fall and cause extensive breakdown of rocks on the ground. Thus, gravity contributes to mechanical disintegration of rocks. Landslides, which occur due to gravity along steep slopes, are of greater magnitude and are more destructive. Next factor is exfoliation. Exfoliation is a type of mechanical disintegration of rocks that takes place due to frequent intense temperature changes. In some deserts, extreme hot and cold conditions prevail during day and night times respectively. For example, in Karakum Desert, daytime temperature shoots up to 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, and at night time this temperature dropped to minus 10 degrees Celsius. Such conditions lead to disintegration of rocks by reducing their internal cohesion. Internal cohesion means this is a binding force which keeps the particles of rock close to each other. What happens during daytime when the rays of the sun fall on the surface of a huge boulder? The surface becomes hot and expands. Since rocks are bad conductors of heat, surface heat is transmitted slowly to the core of the boulder. It takes time to reach the center. Meanwhile, the outer part of the boulder expands while the interior remains unchanged in volume. In other words, the boulder as a whole is not heated up uniformly, and at different parts, different temperature prevail, which lead to the non-uniform expansion of the boulder. On the other hand, at night time, cold winds blow over the surface of the boulder, which make it cool and causing contraction. But at this stage, expansion in the interior of the boulder will be going on due to accumulated heat which it received at daytime. Thus, contraction at the surface and expansion in the interior will take place simultaneously, and because of this, internal cohesion or binding force of the rock decreases. When this process is repeated a number of times, the surface gets detached from the main body of the boulder or main center mass and peel off as thin cells. These cells further break down in due course of time because even within the cell, the constituent minerals, due to differences in chemical composition, undergo different degrees of expansion or contraction which result in breaking of the cell into smaller pieces. Okay, this process is appropriately called exfoliation. Ex means pre-existing and folio means layers or seed, because a number of layers are detached one after another from the original main boulder with the passage of time. That's why this process is called exfoliation. This phenomena is a result of exfoliation. Now let's see the process of mechanical disintegration of rocks by frost wedging and frost heaving. What happens in this process? During daytime the snow melts into water, and during the night the water freezes into ice in cold regions. This happens due to the change in day and night temperatures. In such areas, during daytime, the water percolates and fills in the existing cracks and fractures in the rocks. During nights, due to fall in temperature, such trapped water freezes into ice. Then, due to the consequent increase in volume, tremendous pressure is exerted on the sides of the cracks. When this process is repeated, even hard rock gets shattered into pieces. This sort of disintegration is called frost action. Since here frost act like a wedge in this context in widening cracks, it is called frost wedging. Due to frost wedging, not only do the existing cracks become widened, but also innumerable new cracks develop, which in turn facilitate further frost wedging. Ultimately, rocks are reduced to pieces. On the other hand, frost heaving is a similar phenomena which occurs along steep slopes. In such places, rocks are upheaved or uplifted by the expansion of trapped water below on freezing. The upheaved loose rocks roll down the slopes due to the gravity effect. So far, we discussed all the physical factors responsible for mechanical disintegration of rocks. In the next video, we will come across chemical factors and biological factors. Thank you.